This is a strange story that's getting even stranger. A series of mysterious deaths, including the unsolved murders of Murdaugh's wife and son, and now accusations of a botched attempt to make his own death look like a murder.
Good afternoon, and welcome to True Crime Mysteries. If you're new to the channel, hello and welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. If you could give this video a like and comment with your thoughts down below, that would be much appreciated as it helps the channel to grow. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and click that red button because I make more content like this, and hit that little bell icon so you get notified when I post. Today, we are going in for a closer deep dive into all of the bizarre events that seem to follow Alex Murdaugh. Let's get into it. So back in our September Crimes of the Month video, we briefly covered Alex Murdaugh's assisted suicide plot that he orchestrated, and as I was researching, I just kept uncovering more and more criminal activity that seemed to all stem from the Murdaugh household. I asked you if you wanted me to go further and do a deep dive, and there was an overwhelming response that yes, you did, so that's why I made this. This has been covered a lot, so I'm going to direct you to utilize those timestamps in the description box if you want to skip through any of the topics. I haven't seen too many videos that have been recently put out that have everything all in chronological order, and we're going to cover everything that is factual. My sources for this video are current lawsuits, police reports, and sources that have been covering this without any sort of sensationalism. There is a lot of information out there, and we're just going to currently work with the facts and not with anything that is too speculative. From 1920 to 2006, there has been a member of the Murdaugh family serving as a solicitor for the 14 circuits representing 5 counties: Allendale, Hampton, Jasper, Beaufort, and Colleton of South Carolina. A solicitor serves as the lead prosecutor in their area, much like a district attorney. These are elected positions, and it began with Randolph Murdaugh Sr. He served in that position for 20 years until he died in a train accident. His son, Randolph Buster Murdaugh Jr., took the position next and held it from 1940 to 1986, and served in the position the longest. When he retired, his son, Randolph Randy Murdaugh III, took over the position in 1986 and held the position until his retirement in 2006. 3 generations and 86 years in a position of prestige and power. Randy Murdaugh also had 2 sons, who may have been in positions to also serve as solicitor later on. The eldest son, Randolph Murdaugh IV, and Richard Alexander Alec Murdaugh. In my last covering, it appears that he pronounces his name as Alec instead of Alex, but I wasn't really sure until now, so we're just going to make that little correction. The 3 men until recently all served as senior attorneys at their family law firm: Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Ellsworth, and Dietrich. So this is a family that is wealthy, well-connected with all levels of the legal system as well as law enforcement. Alec and Maggie met at the University of South Carolina, where they both were students. They married soon after and then had their 2 sons. Alec and Maggie seemed to have a very close relationship until recently. She reportedly often visited Alec at work, and they often had lunch together. The family often attended events together and seemed to have a very active social life. though there are reports from those who knew the family that said they were deeply miserable, quoting, "Money doesn't buy happiness." Now, I would like to go into the series of unfortunate events that follow Alec Murdaugh and go through them in chronological order. In the early morning hours on July 8, 2015, a body was found in the middle of a rural road outside Hampton, South Carolina. The victim was identified as 19-year-old Stephen Smith, and his car was located 3 miles away out of gas. Stephen's body was covered in injuries, and his cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma, though it was initially reported on as a gunshot wound due to an injury to his head, and a complete lack of any evidence consistent with a hit and run. There were no skid marks on the road, no vehicle debris, broken glass, or injuries associated with being hit by a vehicle. In the incident report, officers also noted that Stephen's shoes were loosely tied and he was still wearing both. A former highway patrol investigator who was on the scene said that he believes that Stephen's injuries were more consistent with being beaten, and he was left in the road to make it look like a hit and run. His mother also stated that he wouldn't have been walking along the side of the highway. His wallet and cell phone were located inside his vehicle, and he could have called for help. She said that he wouldn't have used the main road. He knew the area extremely well, and he knew to cut through the woods to get home faster. In 2017, Stephen's mother said that the FBI came to see her and requested a few items, which included Stephen's cell phone. It isn't exactly known how the Murdaughs are connected, but their name was mentioned 9 times in the officers' police reports. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or also called SLED, also received several tips from the public asking officers to question Buster Murdaugh about the incident. Stephen's mother believes this was a hate crime, and Stephen was targeted because he was openly gay in a rural southern community. She said in an interview, "They laid him in the road like a piece of trash. Stephen was a human just like everybody else, and he deserves respect just like anybody else. He might not have been rich, but he was loved." She spoke to local reporters saying it was an uphill battle to get law enforcement to take her concerns seriously. For years, nothing seemed to be happening in the case. However, in 2021, the case was reopened with renewed hope of getting closure. So new court documents have unearthed more to this particular story than what was previously known. On February 26, 2018, the Murdaugh family's longtime housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, died. The death was listed as accidental, and it was alleged to have been a trip-and-fall accident. Alec Murdaugh said that she had tripped over one of the family dogs and fell down a flight of stairs. Her injuries had been severe, and she was in a coma for 3 weeks before her eventual death. She had been employed by the family for over 2 decades. The incident had not been reported to the coroner, and no autopsy was done at the time of her death. More suspiciously, on her death certificate, her cause of death was listed as natural, which is not accurate, and it is unclear whether any sort of official investigation took place, as this was a workplace death and it should have been. Mrs. Satterfield was survived by her 2 sons, and we know these details because they are suing Alec Murdaugh for failing to pay out on a settlement that they had agreed on. The sons never received any of the settlement money, which is why they sued, and during the course of suing, they learned so much more than they had ever thought possible of Alec Murdaugh. They alleged that at their mother's funeral, Alec approached them and said that he would help to take care of them, which included paying them the proceeds from a life insurance policy that had been taken out on Mrs. Satterfield's behalf. Murdaugh suggested an attorney for them to use, a Corey Fleming, but failed to mention that Fleming was a close and personal friend. The sons also alleged that Fleming helped divert millions of dollars from the settlement back into Murdaugh's pocket using a shell corporation. Okay, so this part is a little bit complicated as I am not a legal professional, but I'm going to break it down how I understand it. It appears that there was a settlement agreed on by the Murdaugh legal team, and the legal team representing the sons, which was Corey Fleming. They agreed on a $500,000 settlement. However, it appears that there was a judge's order approving a $4.3 million settlement, but that figure was never brought for the sons' approval. The document had been signed, but it was never filed with the courts. Out of that $4.3 million, they would have received roughly $2.7 million after the legal fees were paid. However, the Satterfield family had never been made aware of this figure, just that $500,000 figure. It is alleged that the money was paid out by the insurance company and then accepted into a shell company called Forge, which was owned by Murdaugh, who was then able to funnel the money back to himself to pay off credit debts.
Barry, you're spot on. The only thing is I'm not asking the bar to sanction him. I just merely perform my duty to inform the bar as a lawyer of our state when I know that somebody else has possibly violated the rules of professional conduct. I'm duty bound to inform the bar, and then the bar does their own investigation. So I supplied them with a copy of the complaint, and presumably they will start an investigation.
So what does that mean for Corey Fleming? Because, the layperson in me says that's just icky. Maybe he should lose his license. But is there something more sinister? Is there something criminal to that?
I'm not going to venture into the criminal, but there is something that could jeopardize his license if the bar was to find that he had misappropriated money or assisted others in misappropriating money from clients or secreting material information from the clients in order to enrich others instead of his duty of fidelity to the clients. He could have his license impacted either through suspension or ultimately he could lose his license. Two things we were told in law school: never lie to your client, never steal money from your client. If you do, you're going to lose your ticket.
But we out here outside law school, we're told you're going to go to jail if you steal money from people. So that's why I asked. This sounds like he could be exposed also to the criminal procedures.
Like Al Capone went to jail for income tax evasion. He didn't go to jail for, all the killings that he did. I believe that this case is at the epicenter of what's going to happen ultimately in Hampton County to the Murdaughs and a lot of different people because of the amount of money that has not been accounted for and misappropriated. I think that ultimately people are going to lose their law licenses. I think there's going to be a real microscope into the judicial system and how this took place, where approvals were given for these type of settlements without them being on court record, without there being a court order approving these settlements. I think it's going to be a top to bottom look. And I really do think that at the end of the day, there's going to be a cleanup that happens, because this is really an indictment on the South Carolina justice system. We don't like the way we're looking to the rest of the world and the nation. It's not who we are. And I really do believe that our Chief Justice and a lot of the people in the justice system are going to be looking at this. And it's this particular case that is going to cause a lot of people to have to take pause. When you're talking about $4 million being misdirected, it's being done by mail, it's being done by wire, it's being done through different banks, which implicates all kinds of money laundering, conspiracy to commit fraud, all those type of economic business crimes that carry with it extensive penalties. The thing that I learned today that really shocked me is that Mr. Murdaugh set up a dummy company and a dummy bank account where the money that was sent from Corey Fleming after he took his attorney's fees went to a company called Forge. Believe it or not, Forge. That's the name that Mr. Murdaugh chose to have the money deposited in. And he took that check and deposited it in an account, and he took that money allegedly for himself. The reason he used the word Forge is we have a company in Georgia called Forge Consulting, which does structured settlements for large settlements. And that is, if you get $1 million settlement, you don't want the money to go all at one time to a minor, you can structure it to be paid out over a number of years and you purchase an annuity so that over a course of 15, 20 years, that $1 million can be worth $3 million. And so it's allegedly Mr. Murdaugh had Corey Fleming make that check payable to Forge, the remaining amount of that almost $4 million that was recovered. And then he took the rest, or that's what we are told.
There is a legitimate financial consulting firm called Forge, which handles insurance settlements of this nature, though they are not affiliated with the company that accepted the Satterfield settlement. This is a deeply troubling financial fraud scheme, which we will cover more later, and it seems to have required a fairly decent amount of planning. This didn't just kind of accidentally happen. A shell company was formed in order to appear to be a reputable company. It then calls to question whether this was all orchestrated prior to Mrs. Satterfield's death. I mean, how many employers take out multi-million-dollar life insurance policies for their housekeepers? So far, we only have one side of the lawsuit, and I'm sure more will come out in court with discovery. I'm curious to know when that life insurance policy was taken out, who signed off on the death certificate, and what consequences Corey Fleming will face, as he didn't act in his client's best interests and was actually negligent in not informing them of what the judge signed off as their award. This whole thing seems rotten from the inside out. So what kind of started off with this family being in the media was this 2019 boat crash that resulted in the death of 19-year-old Mallory Beach. It was February 24th, 2019, when Paul Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh's youngest son, and a group of 5 friends had been driving his father's boat. Paul is seen hours before the accident purchasing alcohol with what was determined to be a fake ID, likely his older brother Buster Murdaugh's ID. The group then goes to a bar in Beaufort, South Carolina, Luther's Rare and Well Done. Paul is seen purchasing more alcohol there. They are seen on surveillance at 1:13 a.m. headed back to the boat, and Paul is seen stumbling and appearing intoxicated. At 2:26 a.m., this call comes into the 911 dispatcher.
911, where's your emergency? Hello? Police, fire, ambulance? Hello?
We're in a boat crash on Arthur Street.
Whereabouts on Arthur Street?
In Arthur Street, the only bridge on Arthur Street.
Archer Street?
Archer's Creek.
Archer's Creek. Archer's Creek. Is it? Okay. What's going on?
It's by Paris Island.
Right. What's going on?
We're in a boat crash.
You know what kind of a?
A boat crash.
A boat? Did you say a boat crash?
A boat crash.
Okay, so you're at the dock? Hello, are you at the dock?
No, we just crashed in a boat.
Okay, are you in the water or are you?
We're in the boat.
Okay.
We have someone missing.
Okay. Hang on 1 second, okay?
Beaufort Water Search and Rescue stated that
evidently the girl was sitting on her boyfriend's lap when they hit the bridge at a high rate of speed, and now she's missing.
officers described the condition of the boat as having a 6-foot gash where the boat split at the seam. The boat contained numerous empty, partially consumed, and full alcoholic beverages still on ice. 4 of the team were rushed to the hospital, and there Paul's blood was taken to determine his blood alcohol levels. It is unclear at this time why Paul wasn't given a sobriety test at the scene of the crash. It was a hospital that took it upon themselves to make sure that someone tested his blood alcohol levels. He was described by nurses as heavily intoxicated, uncooperative, and belligerent. It was determined that Paul's BAC was .286, more than 3 times the legal limit. That night, Mallory's body was not found, and it was presumed that she was deceased. She was recovered by boaters a week later. Her cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma and drowning. The Beach family pressed criminal charges against Paul, but they were dropped when Paul was murdered in June of this year. They still have a civil lawsuit against Alec Murdaugh, which remains, and Connor Cook, the boyfriend of Mallory, has also sued Murdaugh, alleging that the lawyer orchestrated a campaign to falsely blame him for the boat crash.
Who was the last person you saw driving?
I'm pretty sure it was Paul. But I mean, it could have been back and forth between it because he was just, not in his right mind. Like, he was just like, I need to drive and all this kind of stuff. He was, like I said, he's very persistent with driving. So I'm pretty sure. Because I don't know that for a fact, because I was still facing forward. Like, I wasn't like, constantly looking back. Mm-hmm. But like, as I was looking forward, like, the last person I saw was him. So.
Okay. You said Paul took your phone to call his granddad.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he call his granddad? Did he say why? Why didn't he call his dad, or was there?
Well, because they're lawyers and stuff, and he wanted him to be there first. He just called his granddad because that's what he does in everything.
And his dad a lawyer?
Yes.
But he didn't want to call his dad.
He didn't want to call his dad. He just wanted to call his granddad.
In his lawsuit, he also alleges that Murdaugh knew Paul had issues with alcohol and had told Paul he couldn't have access to the boat anymore due to a previous history of him driving while intoxicated, but didn't do enough to ensure Paul didn't access the boat. He also said that while at the hospital, Alec Murdaugh arrived and told all of the teens to keep their mouths shut in an attempt to control the narrative. Murdaugh also referred a lawyer for the Cook family, but didn't disclose that the lawyer he had referred was a close personal friend and was also the godfather of Paul. The lawyer advised Connor to not cooperate with law enforcement, which made him appear guilty. Connor obtained a new attorney months later, and his new attorney was able to provide information to law enforcement that led to charges being able to be laid against Paul Murdaugh. Paul had been charged with boating under the influence causing bodily harm and causing the death in a boat crash. Paul had pleaded not guilty to the charges, and a trial was underway.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alec Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to ambulance immediately. My wife and child just shot badly.
Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Sir?
You said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Yes, sir. 4147
Okay.
Moselle Road.
Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hurry.
Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hello?
I'm still here. Stay on the line. I'm still here, okay? Carlton, I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line, caller from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot. Mr. Murdaugh, go ahead and talk to Carlton.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad. Okay.
On June 7th, 2021, Alec Murdaugh makes this chilling 911 call at 10:07 p.m. He arrived at the family hunting lodge in Isleton and discovered his wife and son, Paul. The police initially held Alec for questioning, but he was released when his alibi for that evening was confirmed. Alec had been visiting his mother, who has dementia, and was seen by her caretaker. The incident was confirmed as a double homicide, and that the time of death was somewhere between 9 and 9:30 p.m. Some reports have stated that 2 separate weapons were used in the attack, but that hasn't been confirmed yet by authorities. It appears that something was found during the course of this investigation, because this is when we see SLED reopen the investigation for Stephen Smith's death as well as Gloria Satterfield's. Possibly incriminating evidence was found either on cell phones or computers of the Murdaugh family, though currently that is only speculation. Following Paul's death, the South Carolina Attorney General office dropped all charges against him. 3 days later, on June 10th, Alec's father, Randolph Murdaugh III, passed, following a stretch of poor health. He was 81 at the time of his death, and Alex Murdaugh, all in 1 week, lost his father, his wife, and his youngest son. At this point in time, there isn't a lot about these murders that have come to light. Many of the official documents have been heavily redacted, but there is clearly some connection. On September 2nd, Murdaugh's law firm PMPED began an investigation into Alec Murdaugh after finding a suspicious check on his desk. The check was made to him personally, not to the firm, which was what prompted this investigation. It is discovered that Alec was taking money from the firm as well as clients and funneling those funds into a personal account. PMPED was able to track the funds and uncover the fraud. Alec was confronted about the misappropriated funds and was asked for his resignation, and he did so on February 3rd. The following day, the law firm brought their findings to the Hampton County Sheriff's Office and SLED, which started an investigation of suspected criminal activity. A lawsuit was filed in October by the law firm suing Alec Murdaugh, and it is here we learn about how the law firm discovered what was happening. They also discovered the fictitious entity called Forge, which, as we discussed earlier, was made to look like a legitimate financial consulting firm, but it provided no services and had no products for sale. Its creation was established solely to convert money from the law firm to Murdaugh. They claimed that they had no knowledge of what Murdaugh was doing and said in their lawsuit that because he had disguised the payments using a company that they used regularly, it had evaded detection. This was a company that they used routinely for years, and because Murdaugh knew the ins and outs of how the law firm used this company, he was successful in making these payments look legitimate. PMPED's website has this statement released. The lawyers and employees of PMPED live and work in Hampton, Jasper, Colton, and Beaufort counties. Most of us grew up in the area, attended local schools, worship at area churches, and continue involvement with local civic organizations and charities. We are proud of our communities and are distressed by this tragic situation involving our former partner, Alec Murdaugh. The negative attention that this has brought to our community and to our firm is regrettable. PMPED is a robust firm with skilled, experienced attorneys who represent our clients with a fierce commitment to obtaining justice. We were shocked and dismayed to learn that Alec violated our principles and code of ethics. He lied and he stole from us. No member of PMPED was aware of Alec's scheme. When we learned he betrayed our trust, we requested his resignation immediately. We have yet to speak to anyone who was aware of his addiction to opioids. While Alec's situation is tragic, be assured that the firm is strong and focused on representing its many clients. We provide legal services locally and statewide. We hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards in handling our clients' cases. Despite the widespread recent publicity, we continue to work to represent our clients with the same diligence and professionalism as prior to the discovery of Alec's misdeeds. The funds taken by Alex will not affect current or future operations. No client will suffer a financial loss as a result of Alex's misconduct. We have read the media reports about the lawsuit and settlement resulting from the death of Gloria Satterfield. If these reports are accurate, we are stunned at what occurred. It is important for everyone to know that PMPED did not represent Alec in that case. His insurance company hired counsel to represent him. Like many of you, we have a lot of questions about Alec and what has recently come to light. We don't know the answers, but we will continue assisting law enforcement and other authorities in efforts to find the truth. PMPED is committed to our clients and community. You can count on us to operate our firm in an honorable and transparent fashion. So the law firm has stated that they are still working with a forensic accountant to see how long this goes back and how much money has gone missing in total. This is still ongoing, and we will likely see an amendment to their lawsuit when they have final figures. Then that brings us to the failed suicide plot. A day after Alec is asked to resign from the firm on September 4th, a 911 call comes from Alec Murdaugh. He claimed that while he was changing a tire, a rogue shooter drove by and attempted to kill him. He was located on the old Satchahatchee Road by himself with a head injury.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, ma'am, I lost you. This young lady is driving me to the hospital.
She's carrying you to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and who is this?
This is Alec Murdaugh. I was on the phone a minute ago.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
He said there's somebody's taking him to the hospital. Okay.
Oh, you know what? We got a flat tire.
Got you, 10-12.
Ma'am, I need the ambulance.
You need the ambulance? Okay, are you still in the same location?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which way are y'all heading? Are y'all driving down the road?
No, ma'am.
No.
I got a flat tire.
Okay. All right. Sit tight right there, okay?
All right. Now they're taking me to the hospital.
Okay. So which way are y'all traveling?
We're coming down Saltahatchee Road to the Hampton Hospital.
Y'all coming down Salcahatchee?
Ma'am?
Y'all coming down Salcahatchee Road to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Reports have been incredibly varied, with his lawyer stating that he had a severe injury with a skull fracture and an entry and exit wound, though law enforcement noted on reports it was a superficial injury with just a bullet grazing. We did see footage of Alec Murdaugh only days later in court, and he doesn't appear to have any major visible injuries. Certainly no entry and exit wounds, so that to me is interesting. The shooter, Curtis Edward Smith, has gone on to give several interviews and is currently claiming that he was trying to stop Alec from shooting himself and the gun went off in the struggle. As stated in our previous coverage, Curtis Edward Smith was a one-time client of Murdaugh, but it is also alleged that Smith was the one that provided Murdaugh with illicit substances. On September 6, Alex made that statement saying that he was resigning from the firm and entering rehab. Later that day, his law firm put out their statement, basically saying, oh no, he was fired for stealing. On September 8th, we saw that the South Carolina Supreme Court suspended Alex Murdaugh's law license, effective immediately, as well as the license of Corey Fleming, the lawyer who handled the Gloria Satterfield settlement. So Alex Murdaugh has a lawsuit from his former firm that alleges the fraud and misappropriation of corporate funds. There's also the lawsuit from Gloria Satterfield's family, as they haven't received anything from their mother's wrongful death settlement yet. Connor Cook also brought a suit forward against Alex Murdaugh, Buster Murdaugh, and employees that provided alcohol to Paul for their alleged roles in the boat crash that killed Mallory Beach. As of October 19th, Alec Murdaugh is being held in custody. He was denied bond, and he has been court-ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, which will dictate what happens next in this case. There are several civil lawsuits pending, and likely more criminal charges upcoming once these investigations play out. There are still the ongoing investigations into the death of Stephen Smith, Gloria Satterfield, as well as the homicide of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. The Murdaugh family are offering a $100,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest of the person who murdered Maggie and Paul. I hope this video summed up everything. Clearly, there is a lot here, and a lot of it happened quite quickly, and this is very much an ongoing investigation. Honestly, there's so much here, I wouldn't be surprised if I missed a couple things, but this video is already pretty long, so we're just gonna kind of wrap it up and do updates as they come. Let me know what you think down below, and let's chat about it. Well, that is it for this video. As always, please give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. If you've done all that and want to support me and the channel, we have channel membership as well as Patreon to get early access, members-only content, and more. We also have merch and other goodies in the description box, as well as links to all my socials. But until then, I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.